Good morning. How's everybody doing today? So today is November 26th. It's the regular meeting of the Kings County Board of Supervisors. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Here.
Richard Valley,
Here.
Doug Verboon,
Here.
Rusty Robinson,
Here.
Richard Fagundes.
Okay, 5 members are present. Would you all please rise for invocation from Pastor Andrew Cromwell, Conia Church. Andrew, thank you for coming.
Good morning, everybody. Let's just bow our heads in prayer. God, we thank you for a new day today. Thank you that your mercies are new every morning, and we're seeking them today. We're seeking your grace, your wisdom, and your strength. God, we thank you for the rain that is watering the ground this morning and that is sending snow to the mountains. And Lord, we seek the rain of your wisdom today. God, I'm mindful that this is Thanksgiving week, and so we take an extra moment to pause and say thank you for family, for our community, for friends, for those that are around us. Lord, I pray for the board this morning, for the staff of the county and all of their families, and all the various places, God, they're going to be celebrating this week in parties and homes. I know that means a lot of stress and a lot of fun in all of that, God. Would you be with every home, every person, every marriage? Would you strengthen families in the midst of relationships and stress? Sometimes that can happen in the holiday seasons. God, would you fill people with grace for one another, with words of encouragement and life? I just pray for every member, God, of the staff of this county, that they would find that you are with them and that you are richly blessing them. We say these things in your great name today, God. Amen.
Yeah, ready? Salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, we'll go to unscheduled appearances. Any person may direct the board at this time on any item on the agenda or any other item of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction. 2 minutes are allowed for each item. Do we have any written?
The first speaker is Jamie Bell.
Jamie Bell, good morning.
Good morning. I think in about a week or so, you guys will be certifying the election. And I just want to let you know that the election is unidentifiable and unverifiable. Unidentifiable because you can simply make up a name and get ballots. And it's worse than that. They've known about this since 22 or 21. I had the government weaponized against me between the former district attorney and the current registrar of voters. By that, first of all, I wouldn't consider this to be weaponization, but an investigator came out and talked to me in May, and I told him what the deal was, and he said, okay, I'll be closing the case. And then in July 20th of 2022, there was a NRCC meeting where our registrar of voters spoke and our former district attorney is there as a precinct committeeman. So that was July 20th. On July 21st, I get a letter from that I'm being taken to court for this. So to me, that is them getting together and weaponizing the government against me. And anyway, so this has gone through court and everything, and the ballots keep coming. So that's what I have to say about that. As far as the voting machines in 2018, Kamala Harris, Adam Schiff, and Amy Klobuchar, those are all Democrats along. There was about 12 Democrats testified in front of Congress about how those machines can be hacked, and were hacked in front of them easily. Kamala Harris said it was hacked in my office easily. And so that's how that. And then your registrar or voter was illegally installed by you guys. It was 3 elected positions, and it was voted on to narrow it down to 1 elected position. And then that elected position was supposed to be the 3 offices. And one of them is registrar of voters. And Loopy is not elected, just installed by you guys illegally. So that's
Okay.
all I have to say for you guys.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Rosemary Ron.
Morning, Rosemary.
Morning. Good morning, Chairman, Board of Supervisors, Rosemary Ron, Department of Public Health. I wanted to give you a brief update on H5N1 bird flu in Kings County. Currently, there are 80 confirmed dairy herds, 80 positive, 63 are confirmed, 17 are presumptive, 7 poultry farms, 3 confirmed, 4 are presumptive, taking a total to 87. The human case count still remains at 4, and that seems to be dwindling off. All human cases have been mild and have resolved quickly after symptom onset. Currently, the health department is working closely with the impacted dairy employers and workers to provide guidance, personal protective equipment, and symptom monitoring for any signs and symptoms. The risk to the general public remains low, but people who interact with infected animals like dairy or poultry workers are at the highest risk. We recommend protective equipment. And as you may be aware, H5N1 this last weekend was detected in a batch of raw milk. The testing is performed regularly on commercial raw milk products, and the dairy has issued a recall on that batch of impacted raw milk. Pasteurized milk and dairy products continue to be safe to consume, as pasteurization is fully effective in inactivating the bird flu virus. As an added precaution, and according to longstanding state and federal requirements, milk from sick cows is not permitted in the public milk supply, and we'll continue to keep you informed of the situation. Jimmy from the Ag Department and I probably are talking daily about issues and communicating. So any questions?
Any questions? Nope. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
Great, thank you.
The next speaker is Diane Freeman.
Morning, Diane. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you. I'm doing just fine. I would like to introduce my new employee, Amit Nagra. She's standing. Amit has joined our office effective November 6th as a Deputy County Counsel 4. She's got 10 years prior experience practicing as an attorney, including 5 years experience in a county counsel's office in another county. This experience that she has allowed her to step right in and effectively start advising county departments. And she's so far proven to be a great asset to our office. We look forward to having her as part of our team in the future. And Amit, if you have any words that you'd like to say, please go ahead.
Good morning, all. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, and I look forward to working with you all.
Well, welcome to Kings County.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The next speaker is Yvette Chaidez Real.
Good morning.
Morning, everyone. So my name is Yvette Chaidez Villarreal, and as you know, I'm a resident of Kings County. I'm here today to voice my strong opposition to the proposed ordinance that would increase the Board of Supervisors' salaries to 44% of a Superior Court judge's salary, over $107,000 annually for each supervisor. This represents a 7% increase for yourselves, while public employees who play a critical role in maintaining our infrastructure were recently offered only a 0.5% increase. This discrepancy is unacceptable and reflects misplaced priorities. If passed, this ordinance would allow the board to make over $100,000 annually, far exceeding the average income for many essential workers in our county. For comparison, the average pay for county public works employees, I got this information from a public information website, is $33,172 annually, base pay, not counting benefits. And the median household income in Kings County is $66,540. And agricultural workers, most of which might be some of your employees, who form the backbone of our local economy, average just $36,660 per year. Educators who shape the future of our county earn between $34,440 and $58,000 annually. It is deeply concerning that the board is considering such a substantial raise for itself, while so many in Kings County struggle to make ends meet. The decision feels especially out of touch given the current economic challenges facing our community. Rather than prioritizing your own salaries, I urge you to focus on ensuring fair compensation for the workers who keep this county running, especially those at the lowest income annually. Investing in equitable pay for public employees and addressing wage disparities would demonstrate a true commitment to serving Kings County residents. To be clear, I'm not asking you to not be paid for what you do. I'm just asking you to reconsider giving yourself such a large increase in pay, because I'm almost certain none of you are dependent on, none of you are living paycheck to paycheck like a lot of people in our county.
Okay, you got 10 more seconds.
I respectfully ask that you reject ordinance number 711 and instead direct resources towards addressing the pressing financial needs our county's workforce and community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Red Fidiasi.
Good morning.
Morning.
2 minutes, please.
Hello, my name is Red Fidiasi, and today I'm here to express my concerns and request that you reject Ordinance 711 as written. I think it's unjust to manipulate the situation to try and give yourself a 7% pay increase when the same luxury has not been offered to other county staff. To try and hide it by using the language introduce and waive the reading feels dishonest. My colleague Yvette Chaidez Villarreal has already shared the statistics of pay rates in Kings County. I think it's concerning that you would try to put your personal financial gain above the public interest. I've never heard of a county employee receiving a 7% pay increase. It does not speak well to the character of the leaders of our county to increase their own pay by such a significant amount. I request that you amend ordinance number 711 to increase the KCBOS pay at the same rate as the average raise for county staff. You are public servants. It is your fiduciary responsibility to serve the constituents of Kings County by making sound financial decisions. I hope that your actions reflect that in your vote on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the speaker cards that I have. I have not received any written correspondence and no one online.
Nobody
As a-
online, anybody in the audience? Sheriff Robinson? Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dave Robinson, Kings County Sheriff. A couple of things this morning. It's good to be back before you. I want to thank the Board of Supervisors, County Administration. Operation Royal Flush was a huge success a couple of weeks ago. We solved four homicide cases, and just to tell a quick story, one of my detectives stopped by my office yesterday, and they went and informed the victim's mother of the arrest of some of the suspects on her son's homicide. She broke down and cried. And that was a cold case that was going nowhere. And it's the men and women, that work in these specialty task forces and the patrol operations folks that help support those task forces that really put this thing together. It's been going on for months. I hit up Kerry a few months ago and I said, hey, just so you know, we have a big operation going and I'm going to totally blow through the budget. I'm sorry. But that's why you guys are here. There's a time and place where you just have to go after the criminals and you have to put them in jail and hopefully send them to prison for a long time. And that time and place was just a couple of weeks ago under Operation Royal Flush. And so I'm here to thank you all because it does cost money to put on a big operation like that. And then I especially want to thank my staff, the men and women that just worked so hard on that for the last several months, night and day, missing, family events, etc. It's hard to do those types of cases. I've personally been involved in multiple of those cases, and it's hard to do because you're sacrificing a lot, but it's all for the good of our community. And so just special thanks this morning. Also, the president of the DSA's in the back of the room, whispered in my ear as I was coming up here. He said, hey, can you make sure you thank the board? The side letters have been approved by their association, and they really appreciate the generosity of the additional 5% that you've offered to all county employees. And they're absolutely appreciative of that and the $1,000 bonus as we go into Christmas season for all employees. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No, thank you, Sheriff. And thank you and your staff for coming together and making our community safe. It's always good to know when you wake up and the social media is going like, what's going on? I hear gunshots. I hear people come out, so the work starts now. So we got to make sure that the state politics don't get in the way and let these criminals go. I know the district attorney has her hands full and hope it gets the prosecution done. So thank you. No, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I just real quick while the sheriff was up there, because I don't know how long to be here. But I want to thank the sheriff for the support over the weekend. We were out with some monies we had left over from Operation Gobble. We went to Costco and we did a big buy of more turkeys, their mashed potatoes, their stuffing, their gravy. And, you know, when you buy from Costco, they're not going to let you just keep it here. And, hey, Richard, come in 2 days with your trailer, come pick it up. So I was stuck there with all this food and no transportation, nowhere to store it. I called the sheriff and he worked with his folks, and Jim Henderson was helpful, and they came out, they picked all that food up. It's in the freezer here at the county, and we're going to roll that out here to Avenel and Stratford today. And so thanks to their help, we're going to be able to add a full meal to a lot of these turkeys here today. So thank you. And I want to thank OES too. And Kerry is a lot of county support this year. And I appreciate it. I never really want to ask the county to help so much on it, but I needed the help and they were there and they solved a lot of headaches. Thank you.
Thanks. Very good. Anybody else in the audience have anything they'd like to add to today's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on now to item 3, approval of the minutes. Item A, report out of closed session from regular meeting, November 5th, 2024.
There's nothing to report from the November
All right,
5th
thank you.
meeting.
Item B, approval of the minutes from regular meeting, November 5th, 2024.
Motion.
Moved by Supervisor
Second.
Robinson, second by Supervisor Valley. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley,
Aye.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Rusty Robinson,
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
5 in favor. Thank you very much. We'll move on now to consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are acted by one motion unless one member would like to pull an item. I do believe we have an item that has been amended, which is the last one on our schedule for next year
On the calendar.
on the calendar.
Yep. Move is amended.
Second.
Moved by Supervisor Neves, second by Supervisor Valley. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley,
Aye.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay, 5 in favor. Thank you very much. Administration, item A, administration, Kerry Martinez, or Alex Walker. Who's
Yes,
taking-
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will be presenting this item. Members of the board, Kerry Martinez, County Administrative Officer, Kings County Administration. So before you this morning is an ordinance for your board's consideration that will modify and set the board's base salary and compensation as percentage tied to the Superior Court judges. A little bit of history. In 2019, the board approved and passed an ordinance to set compensation for the board's salary. Per the ordinance, it ties board's compensation to a fixed percentage based off the salary of Superior Court judges. Currently, board compensation is set at 37% of the base salary of a Superior Court judge with a cap of $90,000. The board has sunset the term of the ordinance and has reached the cap under the ordinance, thus resulting the need for a new ordinance to set the salaries for board members. So the Superior Court judges received increases twice since the expiration of that county ordinance on August 19th, 2024 and November 14th. This resulted the board not receiving increases, otherwise they would have if they had the ordinance. Adjusting the ordinance was not completed in the spring of 2024 after the board directed staff to finish negotiations with county unions before beginning the endeavor of updating the board salary ordinance. Currently, the board salary is set at the 37%. Additionally, the chairman is paid an additional 10% of the base salary. Using the current salary of the Superior Court judges, the median of the Coffin Associate comparable counties, administrations recommend would set the board salaries at 44% of the Superior Court judge, which is $107,680. Under the proposed ordinance, the county's additional pay would be 5% of the base salary. This methodology is consistent with personnel rules of applying a 5% salary upgrade when doing more duties assigned out of class. The methodology for proposed ordinance on the base salary. So in 2022, the county entered an agreement with Coffin Associates to conduct a classification and total compensation study. The need was necessary given the last compensation study the county had completed was in 2016. Since then, the state has approved several minimum wage increases requiring the county to increase salaries only for those positions impacted, which caused significant compaction issues for those positions above. Over the last 2 decades, there have been 2 laws that have gradually increased California state minimum wage from $8 per hour to $16 per hour. Currently, the statewide minimum wage will continue to increase by up to 3.5% each year, depending on inflation. Historically, as mentioned, those positions that were impacted by minimum wage increase were adjusted, again, creating stagnant and causing significant compaction issues across all classifications in the county. Coffin Associate provided recommendations on where the county salary structure should be to maintain a competitive presence while using 12 comparable agencies. There was 12 agencies with 2 cities. The 9 counties that were included were Fresno County, Humboldt, Madera, Mariposa, Merced, Stanislaus, Sutter, Tulare, and Tuolumne County. Staff compared the board salaries to those 9 comparables. The study recommended aligning salaries to the median of those peer counties. The proposed salary adjustment for the board reflect the same methodology, ensuring that the compensation aligns with neighboring counties. Kings County population is the most comparable to Madera County, whose board of supervisors is 105,869. They also have 5 chief of staff, 1 per each supervisor, whereas your board has no dedicated board representative staff. Under California Government Code, local agencies are permitted to reimburse members of legislative bodies for actual necessary expenses, including meal provided to adopted reimbursement policies or IRS reimbursement rates per diem. Currently, our board does actual reimbursements. Moving forward, staff is proposing to adhere to the IRS per diem rates. In comparison of per diem practices among the 9 counties, varying approaches are observed. Madera, Stanislaus, Tulare counties reimburse actual, requiring receipts for all claims, as Humboldt, Sutter, Fresno, and Merced counties allow for the IRS per diem rates. Mariposa currently does reimbursements on actual expenses, but plans to adopt per diem meal reimbursements for all employees starting January 2025. Currently, the board receives an in-county travel and in-county meal allowance as part of their regular compensation salary to promote their ability to engage within their community. Supervisors in districts 3, 4, and 5 are paid $860 monthly in-county travel and meals, while supervisors 1 and 2 are paid $960 monthly. Administration is recommending to repeal the in-county travel and meal allowance by adopting a resolution to repeal the prior resolutions that approved this allowance, creating an annual cost savings of approximately $54,000 annually. Should the board repeal the current travel and meal reimbursement resolutions, supervisor would default to the per diem rates for all travel activities. There's some additional research that I would like to share. In the 9 comparable counties, Kings County is one of the few where the board sits also as the Board of Equalization, a practice shared in Mariposa County, but not Fresno, Merced, Stanislaus, Sutter, Tulare, Madera, or Humboldt. In comparison to other staff levels, for example, Fresno County has a clerk to the board, 4 deputy clerks, along with 10 board representatives, 2 per supervisor. Merced County has a chief clerk and 4 deputy clerks with no dedicated staff. Stanislaus County has 1 clerk to the board and 4 administrative clerks, along with 5 board representatives and an operations manager to the supervisors. Tulare County has 3 deputy clerks, 1 chief clerk, and 1 additional chief of staff with 4 board representatives. Madera County, which is most comparable to Kings, has 2 deputy clerks position, 1 assistant clerk, 1 chief clerk, additionally 5 chief of staff, 1 per each supervisor. Counties like Madera and Tulare have larger staff structures, while Sutter and Mariposa County have smaller teams, typically 1 to 2 clerks of the board with no board dedicated staff. In terms of staffing for Kings County, we employ 1 clerk of the board and 2 deputy clerks, which recently adopted this past fiscal year. Regarding board compensation practices, the 9 comparable counties take different approach. Fresno, Yuba, Merced, Mariposa, Madera ties their board compensation to various percentage based on Superior Court judges. Stanislaus bases its board's salaries on the average of the comparable counties to maintain a 20% above or below average. Sutter County was previously tied to board negotiated raises, while Tulare County determines theirs on an annual budget adoption. The county has offered to implement the Coffin Associates salary study. Some positions have received up to 25% adjustments to be brought back to the median. In addition to that, the county has also offered a 5% COLA to all county employees as a cost living adjustment on top of the Coffin Associates study. These raises are not eligible for the Board of Supervisors, as the recommendation is for the Board of Supervisors to be tied to any salary adjustments that the Superior Court judges receive. Superior Court judges' raises have influx. There's been times where there is none, and the most recent, I believe, was just 1%. Historically, adjustments of the board salaries have been infrequent, with modifications currently selectively over the past 33 years. Prior to 2019, salaries were adjusted in 1991, 2001, 2005, 2007, 2008, and 2014, with notable gaps between 1991 and 2001. Since then, there has been a more structured approach to pay adjustment with consistent cost of living adjustments, again, produced by the judicial judges' salaries. Per law, changes to the Board of Supervisors' salaries must be approved by ordinance with your board's approval. This meeting will serve as an introduction of the ordinance. The ordinance would then be brought back for a second reading at the December 10th Board of Supervisors regularly scheduled meeting and would be effective following 60 days after adoption, which is not until February 8th of 2024. With this established, the recommendation before your board is to introduce and waive the first reading of ordinance number 771, modifying and setting the salary compensation of the Board of Supervisors. I can also read it for the record if you like. Adopt a resolution to repeal resolutions number 98, 1112, 07, 010, 07, 10.1, and 09, 005, revoking the Board of Supervisors in county travel meal and allowance. Staff is prepared to discuss other alternatives if your board would not like to enact the proposed ordinance, and staff is also prepared to provide additional context. I want to lastly, thank my staff, as we don't take on ordinance every day, and they were in the trenches when they doing this research that was provided to your board today. With that, if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Direction.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Carrie, for all the that information and reading the documents over the weekends. It's very thorough. So to you and your staff who put all that together. I'm confident in the leadership that this board has provided, especially over the last year, and putting the employees before us, all the negotiations, and do so in a positive manner to only be, put in a negative light when our ordinance expired. And so I appreciate quickly righting the wrong, and that we're prepared today to move forward here with an ordinance that would, I think, catch the Board of Supervisors up on the past 20 years. You heard the data on the raises. I get it. When I was new here 16 years ago, there's many a time where I voted no on the raise. We gave the employees the raises, and I'd vote no. I get it. You just get here, and it's very uncomfortable to be put in a position to, quote, vote yourself in a raise. So what did we do 5 years ago? The board, we did the same ordinance. We attached ourselves as a Superior Court judge. We gave it a 5-year sunset so we could take time to pause 5 minutes later. We didn't know what expired, but so we did that. So the ordinance expired after 5 years, and we're able to look back and say, did this work? I liked it. As Kira pointed out, though, that as other employees got raises and cost of living increases, the board was stalled because those judges didn't get raises, or if they did, it would be, as mentioned, the last one, about 1%. So I believe that this is fair. It's the same formula. Thank you for pointing that out, that we did for all the employees to get to the medium. As you mentioned, some employees got 25%, then the 5% increase we gave, there's a 30% increase. Ours is 7%. We don't get the COLAs. So here we are, Mr. Chairman. So I would motion to approve as presented. And I believe that it's fair. We work hard. We sit on a lot of communities. It's a blessing to be here, an honor and a privilege. And I don't think anyone on this board considers themselves above anybody else, most importantly, our constituents or the employees that work for us. And so I will put that out in support of this moving forward, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got a motion by Supervisor Valley. Any other comments? I'll go ahead and second with a comment. So this is difficult for us to do. If you compare what we get paid to what the CEO gets paid, a lot of times CEOs in a position and they don't want to take a salary increase because it looks bad. And so CEO stays here, and I'm gonna use Larry Spike as an example. I don't want to draw any attention to myself. So he retires after about 32 years, no salary increase. We got to raise his salary up tremendously just to attract somebody else. So you find yourself way behind. And so The Board of Supervisors has been in this position since 1992 or 93, I believe, trying to compensate for salary. So it looks bad. I don't have a problem with it. I think the staff did a great job explaining it, and that's why I'll go ahead and second it. So, Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley,
Aye.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
No.
Okay, 4 in favor, 1 against. Motion item passes. Move on now to the second item. Consider approving agreement with State Bar for 2024, 2025. Alex, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, members of the board. Alex C. Walker, Administrative Analyst for Kings County Administration. I'm going to give a quick overview while the slides appear on screen, but before you this morning is a funding agreement between the county and the State Bar of California for the provision of legal services for program respondents for the Community Assistance Recovery and Empowerment Program, more commonly known as CARE Court. Before outlining the terms of the grant agreement, I'll first provide you an overview of what CARE Court / the CARE program is, where we are as a county today in implementing CARE Court, as well as sharing why administration is recommending you approve the funding agreement. As we move towards the next slide, I will share first and foremost, what is the CARE Act? CARE was established first in 2022 when Governor Newsom signed Senate Bill 1338 into law. This created the CARE program into existence, as well as allowing different funding sources to be created to reimburse counties, to provide funding for counties to implement the CARE Court system. In addition to that, AB 102 and SB 35 were subsequently signed, requiring the Judicial Council of California to provide early implementation report data from the trial courts who are implementing the CARE Act, as well as requiring that CARE Court be implemented in 2 phases with Cohort 1 counties and Cohort 2 counties. Kings County is part of Cohort 2, and along with 50 other counties, will be launching CARE Court on December 1st of this year. Moving on to the next slide, you can see the purpose of CARE Court is to create a new pathway to deliver mental health and substance use disorder treatment to those most in need, specifically for individuals who have untreated schizophrenia or other psychotic disorders. CARE allows the court to order the CARE Act allows the court to order the county to provide behavioral health treatment in a community-based setting. In addition to that, individuals who enter this pathway are usually those who are the hardest to reach. Under the current system with our county behavioral health, people in need can reach out to county behavioral health like, hey, I need help, I need access to treatment, and then the county would meet with them, they'll assess them and get them the appropriate treatment. But what the CARE Act is designed to do is reach those who aren't advocating for themselves or their own care or don't have the capacity to, allowing families, spouses, grandparents, doctors, first responders to petition the court to start the process of getting them care and the services that they need. And this is the gap that the CARE Act fills. When a petition was received, the court will alert county behavioral health, and from there, they will engage an individual to seek treatment and participate in the process voluntarily. Essentially, the court serves as a conduit to help create access to services while also supervising the progress of the respondent and participant in the CARE Act. The ultimate goal is to engage the petitioner to attain services and support for the respondent and the care participant. And as we move on to the next slide for eligibility, there is a specific legal definition of who the CARE Act applies to. This is for those who are 18 years or older, again, with a diagnosis of schizophrenia spectrum or other psychotic disorders. These symptoms need to be severe to the degree and persistent in duration, which it may interfere with their daily living, such as eating, clothing themselves, bathing, etc. The person is not currently stabilized in ongoing voluntary treatment. The person is either unlikely to survive independently or safely in the community, or their condition is deteriorating, and that services will help prevent a relapse or deterioration in their current state. In addition, participation in the CARE Act is the least restrictive alternative, and the person would benefit from participating in the care plan and care agreement. Again, this is all a voluntary program. People's rights are preserved throughout the process, which is now in front of your screen currently. The care process is designed to preserve respondents' rights, giving them access to an attorney, allowing them to consult with other providers, families, friends, etc., those who are in their support network. But overall, what happens when a petition comes into the court will do a prima facie determination to see if it meets the merits, if this is an eligible participant. The Kings County Superior Court has noted to us that all applications, petitions received will receive at a minimum a first hearing, ensuring that those who are most in need are having a case heard and that these services can be provided to them. Currently, the county has received some feedback from a couple families who are interested in creating petitions. So this highlights the ultimate need in the community and the interest in participating in this program. And as we go through the process, there are different pathways. We'll move on to the next slide, which better explains these pathways. When a petition is received, the person can enter a voluntary engagement. From there, the court takes a big step back. They're not really having too many hearings. The Superior Court has noted that they would like a couple status updates here and there. However, where the court is going to be more involved is with the care agreement and care plan part. A care agreement is when the petitioner, the respondent, who is the participant in the care program, as well as county behavioral health and other partners, are going to come to a consensus on this is the type of treatment and services that you need for your condition, your situation, so you can get the help that you need. While a care plan includes some court-ordered elements. Court-ordered elements can include medication. This is not forced medication. However, due to certain legal barriers, participants might not be able to legally get a prescription because they're not consenting in the same way that you and I would consent in a doctor's visit to get a prescription. So the court can step in and fill that gap and create the necessary legal framework for prescriptions to be prescribed. As we move on to the next slide, you'll be able to see that what a care plan contains are behavioral health services, medically necessary stabilization medications, housing resources and supports, as well as other social services. It is important to note that these things are not necessarily goals, but things that the respondent is legally entitled to and that the court will be enforcing and ensuring that the respondent does receive. And ultimately, the judge can prioritize an order of services. So, for example, being able to access different housing resources, or in the medication example I gave previously. And also, this is not going to limit behavioral health's ability to provide care. There could be other levels of care that are provided in addition to the care plan or care agreement that behavioral health can work with. Moving to the next slide, you can see some of the judicial and legal aspects of care court. Overall, throughout the care process, again, the individual will have their rights protected and have access to legal aid and a public defender. County counsel will support behavioral health as the petitioner. And again, the judge in court serves as a neutral arbiter to conduct and a conduit to these services. And this goes on to the next slide of where we are today as a county in implementing the care court process. As I mentioned previously, Kings County is under cohort 2, and we are set to go live on December 1st. What this means is that people will be able to go to the Superior Court website to access these petitions, and then come Monday, December 2nd, we'll be able to deliver those in person or via mail/Dropbox in order to engage the court. And then from there, the court will then start making sure that these documents meet the legal requirements, contact county behavioral health, and we can begin the care process. Second, the county is working with Superior Court to ensure a robust and accessible, smooth process for petitioners and respondents. Respondents, even though I've used that term in a legal setting, are the participants of the program, and they too can also file a petition for themselves. It's not limited to those who are family, doctors, first responders. People who are in need can also petition the court for a care plan for themselves as well. And then lastly, as I mentioned previously, the county has had families reach out interested in filing petitions through the care process. So we expect to see participation right from the start, highlighting the need for these services in our community. As we go on to the next slide, this is the reason we're before your board today, is the funding agreement with the state bar and the county. Under this agreement, the county would receive $60,000 to provide legal counsel for representation in the CARE Act proceedings, as well as matters related to care agreements and care plans. These funds are anticipated to be received as early as December 1st, if not by the end of the calendar year. And as a recipient of these funds, the county must be available to appoint representation for respondents in care proceedings from the period of October 1st to January 1st, 2026. Moving to the next slide, it is important to note that the county does not have a public defender's office. Rather, the administration department serves as the equivalent entity funding public defender services on behalf of the county by contracting with licensed qualified attorneys. And the county will use these funds to provide legal services to care respondents in accordance with state law and the terms of the agreement. Moving forward in the presentation, the recommendation before your board today is to A, approve the agreement with the State Bar for the 2024-2025 Community Assistance Recovery and Empowerment Court funding agreement for the provision of legal services to program respondents retroactively effective from July 1st, 2024 to January 1st, 2026. This is a retroactive agreement because it allows the county to bill for some of the incurred costs in development and implementation of the care court. B, authorize the county administrative officer to sign the agreement. The state requires that this agreement be submitted with closeout procedures through an online portal, which requires account activation. CO Martinez currently has accounts established. And then C, adopt the budget change. Once the funds are received, they'll be housed in the Defense of the Accused Adult Fund, which finance and administration has determined to be the most appropriate place for these funds to live. As we move to the last slide, I'm going to be available for any questions. Attached in the agenda packet is the full funding agreement, reviewed and approved as the form by County Council, the budget allocation transfer form, and the presentation I shared with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Any questions? You know, I sat through a care court class here about a year ago. I had a hard time understanding it, and I want to thank you for your presentation. I feel a lot better now. And I'm looking over at Christy Lupkis. You're smiling. You thinking we're ready for this? You want to add to it? You're shaking your head. Yeah.
I will add that we've been working with the courts for over a year now and kind of unpacking this and getting prepared for it. Alex has been such a breath of fresh air in coming in and also helping us kind of connect the dots and simplify things. And we've also received our first soft referral from the jail on somebody that they have seen quite often and think that this would work really well. And we're very eager to be able to wrap those services around this individual with this new engagement strategy. So we're just really excited for this new opportunity. And Alex has been just a breath of fresh air, not just with this project, but with many projects that he's been linking with us on. So we really appreciate it.
So you're ready for it?
We are ready for it.
Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, you know, this is the current system isn't working. This is certainly a move in the right direction. There are a lot of moving parts and a lot of moving people that have not in the past worked together. So this will open the door for more opportunities, more avenues of success. And I certainly want to wish everyone that's involved, because again, this is new territory, new way of thinking, a new way of doing things. And I think the families that are receiving services are ready for that. So I will move to adopt as presented.
Motion by Supervisor Neves, question by Supervisor Robinson.
And I just have one question. So is the $60,000 reimbursement the only reimbursement we get?
This is a one-time allocation, yes. Ooh.
Trustee Supervisor, I would just like to note that yes, these are one-time funds that, you know, we carry out for our defense counsel. It's one of those things that, you know, we don't really ultimately get a lot of funds, but we get like new programming.
And if I may add, behavioral health also received a one-time allocation to help lift this program up, and the courts have received a one-time allocation to help lift these up, as well as behavioral health went after the Behavioral Health Bridge Housing Grant and was able to be successfully awarded. And that is now in the hands with King's Community Action Organization, and they have already been working on getting these units prepared, because these units are to prioritize care court housing needs, which we think this first soft referral may need. So we're happy to know that there's somewhere for this individual to go. And they have some of the units already prepared, but the totality of the units will go live about April 2025. And it'll be 27 units prioritizing care court housing needs.
And I should note for your board that there'll be other funding opportunities through the state coming down the pipeline that the county may be interested in pursuing. However, these funds are specifically for legal services for those participating in the care process.
Very good. And we have a second by Supervisor Robinson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley is absent. Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Okay, 4 in favor, item passes. Move on now. Thank you, Alex. Very good job.
Thank you.
Move on now to the next one is item 3 on administration. Consider appointing 2 members to the Planning Commission.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman. Again, members of the board, Alex C. Walker, Administrative Analyst for the County of Kings. Before you this morning are 2 vacancies for the Planning Commission. The purpose of the commission shall be to develop and maintain a county general plan, develop such plans as may be necessary or desirable, and to periodically review the capital improvement program of the county, as well as perform other such functions as the legislative body may provide. The term and expiration of the representative for District 2 expires on December 31st, 2028, and the term expiration for the representative for District 4 expires on December 31st, 2025. Applicants must reside within the supervisorial district in which the vacancy occurs. Members are appointed by the Board of Supervisors pursuant to Chapter 19 of the Kings County Code of Ordinances. 3 applications were received, one from Alonzo Puga for District 2, one from Brent Madill for District 4, and another one for Alfred Benavides for District 4. An advisory board statement was provided in the agenda item that I shall read into the record. The supervisor for District 2 recommends the appointment of Alonzo Puga, and supervisor for District 4 recommends the appointment of Brent Madill. An additional application was received prior to the posting of the agenda and has been added for discussion and or recommendation. Pursuant to board policy, administration makes no recommendations on advisory board appointments. Attached in the agenda packet are the applications received for each applicant. I appreciate your time and I'm able to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Alex. Any questions or comments from the board? Supervisor Robinson.
I just want to say that, it's my pleasure to appoint Dr. Madill. Dr. Madill, he's been a pillar of Kings County for a number of years. He's been a Kings County resident for over 58 years. He worked closely with the public in his optometry practice for 44 years. He also served 8 years on the Hanford City Council. He was the mayor for a time during that. He was appointed by the governor to sit on this board of supervisors. Also, he served another 8 years as a planning commissioner on the city of Hanford. So he served a number of other boards, too countless to mention. And at this time, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Dr. Madill and Mr. Puga.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion.
Second.
Second by both Supervisor Nevs and Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
4 in favor. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. I know it's important for the planning commission to have a full board at all times. So as long as they show up, we're very happy.
One more comment.
Yes, sir.
I do appreciate also the application by Mr. Benavides. And there's a few other boards that we have that are open. And we love to see eager and talented people apply to those boards. So I'll give Mr. Benavides a call, but if you can hear me, feel free to contact me so we can discuss that. Get checked up with the board.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on now to item B, administration, and we have Kyria Martinez or Alex.
It's going to be me, Mr. Chairman, but I'm pleased to introduce Joy Santos with Kings County Office of Education to the podium to present the 2024-2025 Annual Williams Report on Kings County Schools.
Welcome.
Back down. Good morning. Good morning, esteemed members of Kings County Board of Supervisors. My name is Joy Santos. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services with Kings County Office of Education. And today I am here to present the Williams findings for 24-25 on behalf of my colleague Genevieve Almanzar, who is on a non-scheduled day, although she'll be joining us to run the slides there. And I wanted to take the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about what we do in Kings County and really the state of the schools in Kings County outside of just the Williams. So if she's on, if she can get the slides. If not, I'll just go with that. Okay, well, I will go ahead. So one of the things I wanted to share is that in Kings County Office of Ed, we do have new for us this year is branches within our organization. And so we have kind of reorganized our office and to structure it to be more conducive and aligned with other county offices of education. But educational services kind of oversees all the county schools and programs that are offered to our students. But I will start with our first branch, which is Strategic Support and Continuous Improvement, also known as compliance issues, which Williams falls under. So I'll start with the Williams report for you, and I will read it for you so I don't mess up. In 2004, the governor settled a lawsuit alleging that the state failed to provide public school students equal access to sufficient textbooks, decent school facilities, and qualified teachers. Legislation codified the settlement to create new standards for textbook sufficiency, good repairs of facilities, and teacher assignment for all California schools. The settlement required county superintendents as monitoring agents to ensure that these new standards were implemented. For the 2024-25 school year, we continue to adhere to the Assembly Bill 599 requirements, which update the criteria for school eligible for monitoring under the Williams settlement legislation. This year, the county superintendent was required to review 8 schools within 6 districts. We are pleased to report that through our reviews of these schools, we found that all school sites were in compliance with all rules and regulations. Individual districts reports and a link to the CDE website, which describes the changes above, can be found on our Kings County Office of Education website. It's on page 513, which I don't think it's linked here. But what else we wanted to mention about this today is that we are very small and we go out and we do these site visits in person and we tag team because we do both the fiscal review and the educational materials review. So it is quite time consuming. We have 4 weeks within the first start of the 8 weeks, I'm sorry, start of the school year in which to complete those visits. And we are a little bit concerned because due to our small size and limited number of staff, we will see increases in Williams qualified schools next year. We are thinking an increase from 8 current sites to 20 next year. So we are working diligently with the state leads. I attend CISC and COSP. I am the COSP chair, which are the committees of the county, California County Superintendents. We work closely with CDE, and Genevieve Almanzar works very closely with the Williams lead. So we are advocating and trying to find ways in which to solve the heavy lift for us to come. We'll take any questions now, and hopefully I can answer on Williams in particular.
Any questions from the board?
So if I can go back then to slide with the our strategic support and continuous improvement branch. Not only Williams uniform complaints, but also LCAP. So everything you've heard with all the 13 counties, districts in our county, our office, Genevieve Almanzar particularly, reviews and approves those LCAPs for all the schools in our county. Again, a heavy lift. We work very closely with them, not to mention our own County Office of Education's LCAP. That is something we do and continue to do. Also, you may have heard of differentiated assistance, and that is a little bit about that for you. We provide support, technical assistance to all the districts in our county that qualify for differentiated assistance under which comes about from the dashboard, and their eligibility is based on how they perform not only academically, but with all other, equity and issues along that line. Again, identified annually by the California State Dashboard. Student performance and student performance, chronic absenteeism, suspension, college career readiness, and graduation rates. And I'm not sure if the slides are going, but the next branch in our unit is student support services. Yeah. So I'll list it here. I have to switch from my glasses back to out because I can't read with my glasses. But Burris Park, you may be aware of, that is something that we run in collaboration with the foundation. And then the Dream Center is something that we have just really opened our doors just recently. And all of these I'm mentioning because we are inviting you to all of these events. This is something that happens in our county, and we would love to have partnership and support from everyone. Mr. Neves attends most of our events, but the Dream Center opened its doors October 8th with Kings County foster and homeless youth to have access to vital support and resources. The center will provide guidance, mentorships, case management, and educational resources. Some of the educational resources offered include assistance with the FAFSA, housing referrals, and workforce preparation. A clothing closet, food pantry, and study space are also on-site resources available. And then on the left side, on the right side of that screen, you can go back to that same, thank you, that slide, are a list of events that are upcoming, and they're in alphabetical order, not in calendar order. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm just going to give you dates. The College and Career Expo will be April 4th. Resource Fair happened, but the next one will be September 25th of 2025. Farm Day coming up March 20th, 2025. Spelling Bee, February 24th through the 28th. Academic Decathlon, January 27th and February 3rd. Excellence in Education, April 29th. And going back to expanded learning, just wanted you to know that we do offer after-school support, after-school programs in 8 sites across our county. Students will receive enrichment in arts, STEM, and physical fun through their participation in these programs. And of course, TUP, which is the Tobacco Use and Prevention Program. We offer resources and also certify that our districts are compliant. And then next slide is early childhood education, another branch in our department. You may have heard of the Family Resource Centers. We have one in Lemoore, one in Hanford. These are community-based family resource centers that offer free services to families with children ages 0 to 5. Our school readiness workshops are designed to be developmentally appropriate, supporting the growth of young children while also fostering parental learning and engagement. And UPK listed there too. As you know, we are actively advancing universal pre-kindergarten efforts to support all early learning programs across Kings County. We also run California State preschool programs. Currently, Kings County Office of Ed operates 3 part-day California State preschool programs and 1 full-day program, preschool program. An additional full-day program is scheduled to open soon at the KCOE Early Learning Center, and that is well coming along. I'm not sure when we will actually get students there, but we do have wait lists. And then CARES, Kings County Cares About Quality, is a program dedicated to enhancing the skills and supports available to early childhood education professionals in Kings County. And finally, our last branch is district support. This is a department that provides support to the educators in our county to better support the students of our county. So this is a educational curriculum-based department. And one of the biggest newest things coming up is the Community Connect. This is an event that we held for the first time last year. It is really to allow the larger community to connect with Kings County school districts and programs to foster communication, resource sharing, and partnerships between the educational system and the larger community in service of Kings County children. We had a great event, first time ever, and we'll host our second event this year, March 27th. And you may have heard of Community Schools program. It is not Community Day, but community schools adapt existing schools in partnership with families, educators, and community partners to provide service that supports the whole child. These services include health resources, academic supports, enrichment opportunities, family engagement programs, and community-based educational offerings. Reef, Sunset, and J.C. Montgomery are currently in the implementation phase of the community schools process. Lakeside and Armona are in the planning stages and will be applying for implementation funding in February, very likely to be granted. Central and Corcoran are collaborating with KCOE to submit applications as well, although funding there is said to be dwindling. So we will know if they apply. We will apply. We'll know if they will be awarded in spring, late spring. But what I really want to talk about is J.C. Montgomery School. This is a school that we work in partnership with probation department. And I just want to brag about it a little bit. We are now being recognized across the state for the efforts that we're doing and the work that is coming out of J.C. Montgomery School, in spite of all the challenges and barriers that they face. I do want to read a little bit just because I don't want to miss anything, but this is something that we've worked so hard at, and again, I'm so proud of. J.C. Montgomery School is located in the King's Juvenile Facility. The site serves students grades 6 through 12. Students receive access to course aligned with state standards and graduation requirements through an in-person classes and also online coursework. A partnership with Lemoore College's Rising Scholars Program allows students to be dual enrolled in college while they earn their high school diploma. Through community school funding, the site provides aerobic conditioning after school in partnership with probation programming and is in the process of establishing a mentoring program where formerly system-impacted mentors who have turned their lives around work with students in doing the same. JCEM also offers an award-winning arts, media, and entertainment career technical education pathway where students work with teaching artists to develop music videos, short documentaries, and podcasts that share student stories and perspectives. Students from this program have been nominated for a Princeton Race Relations Prize, featured on national podcast sharing about their programs, and their work has been used in advocacy to improve funding for juvenile court schools, leading to the implementation of equity multiplier funding for alternate ed sites across the state. The site is also in the process of establishing pathways in environmental, agricultural, and agricultural mechanics through recently awarded Golden State Pathways funding. This funding will also be used to develop internships and apprenticeship opportunities for students where they transition from their facility. We would love to invite the Board of Supervisors to tour our school facility once we have moved into the new facility provided by Kings County and the Kings County Probation Department to learn more about our educational program. It is amazing, and I would love to share it with you all, but we do need your support. We do need your support. And that is my report today. Thank you for allowing me to talk more than just about Williams.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Any question from the board? Any motion to accept the report?
Move to accept, Mr.
Moved by Supervisor Neves, second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
4 in favor, 1 absent. Thank you very much. Thanks for showing up today. Appreciate it.
Good job.
We'll go to item C, Fire Department, Matt Sanfilippo. Morning, Matt.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Matt Sanfilippo, Kings County Fire. I was gonna go over there, but Alex was there first. I don't think you guys would see me.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
The fire department has a wellness committee comprised of 6 fire department employees. The wellness committee is responsible for the assessment and review of the department's health screening needs and services. Preventative care and screening have been proven to identify treatable health issues early and as a result, save lives. Some of the services that Pinnacle Training Systems LLC offers include performing certain blood work, cancer screening, audiology, and 2-view chest x-rays for employees and volunteers of the fire department. The result of the assessments are shared privately with each individual, and support services provided to ensure that our employees are getting the information they need and the pathways to proactively respond. The fire department supports the proposed wellness program for employees and volunteers of the fire department to enhance each firefighter's health and to decrease death and injury. The agreement shall be in full force and effect for 4 years and shall commence on January 1st, 2024, and shall terminate on December 31st, 2027, unless otherwise terminated in accordance with its terms. The original contract of 3 years began in 2021 and extended into 2023. Unfortunately, the COVID epidemic and subsequent health recommendations prevented the execution of that contract as written. The result of that was 2023 was our first time that we did the screenings. A request for the proposal was conducted prior to the original contract, and Pinnacle was selected. However, because unforeseeable events prevented the department from realizing the entirety of that contract, a sole source has been submitted and approved by purchasing for this agreement. The cost of the programs have remained steady at an average of about $1,000 per year, about $1,150. That's going to go down because we're going to eliminate the heavy metals test that will only be provided for our hazardous materials team, which is what was what it was dedicated to. That was what we foresaw when we first put the program in effect. Certain tests are mandatory, such as the National Fire Protection Association's 1550 firefighter annual screenings, vision and hearing, as well as tuberculosis screening. However, Pinnacle also provides heavy metal screening, which I just talked about, behavioral health support and assessment, and most importantly for our profession, cancer screening. Individual costs vary depending on the use of the services provided. The agreement has been reviewed and approved as to form by County Council and reviewed by Risk. The recommendation is to approve the agreement with Pinnacle Training Systems LLC for worksite wellness services retroactively effective from January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2027. This is a fee-for-service contract, and the adopted fiscal year 24-25 budget includes $80,000 in estimated expenses in the fire budget for this contract. And if you have any questions, I'm available.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Robinson, you got a question?
No,
No
just a
question?
motion to approve.
Any questions?
There are no questions.
Moved by Supervisor Robinson, second by Supervisor Fagundes. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson, Richard Fagundes.
4 in favor. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, at this time, we're going to go to study session, Behavioral Health Department, and we have Christy Lupkis. Oh, and Dr. Lewis.
Hello, we're going to tag team. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Lisa Lewis, Kings County Behavioral Health, and I'm here today with Christy Lepke, our Deputy Director, and Kathleen, who's assisting us with our slides, and Dr. Baga, who's here representing Good Samaritan Hospital. We're here today to conduct another study session regarding the Behavioral Health Continuum Infrastructure Program, otherwise known as BCHIP, to update the board on the progress towards the application. Next slide, please. What Christy and I will present to you is a refresher of the project, the results of the community and stakeholder engagement, and the application progress to include a site plan, the site plan elements and budget, and the timeline ahead. Next slide, please. As stated at the October 22nd study session, and as a refresher, the state has released a BCHIP launch-ready request for applications for which Kings County Behavioral Health would like to apply as the lead applicant and host county, with Good Samaritan Hospital acting as the co-applicant as the experienced party in the execution of BCHIP grants and the design and operation of the proposed crisis facility. The application would be for the renovation of the currently vacant public health buildings located at 330 Campus Drive here in Hanford. The renovation would be to create a behavioral health crisis care campus, co-locating an adult crisis stabilization unit known as a CSU, a psychiatric health facility known as a PUF, and a crisis residential treatment facility known as a CRT. Next slide, please, Christy.
Yeah, Christy Lupke, excuse me, Deputy Director at Kings County Behavioral Health. So I'll be taking you through the community engagement that happened. So we've done community engagement and stakeholder engagement to make sure that we are reaching out to the community that is going to be using these facilities, as well as those that reside around this site, in addition to stakeholders who are most commonly involved with those who are in crisis, to be able to get their feedback on the design of the project, their support of the project, and any concerns they may have that we can then work through. And so I'll take you through the slides for community engagement. So Kings County Behavioral Health and Good Samaritan Health Systems engaged the community through an online survey and community meeting. This survey and meeting was advertised to the community through the county's social media channels and all county employees' email blast, and through broad email dissemination, and through postcard mailers sent to over 4,000 addresses within a 1-mile radius of the site. A picture of the front and back of the mailer is shown here. It gave a bit of information about the proposed project, then a link and QR code to the survey requesting community feedback, which the survey was in English and Spanish, as well as detailed information about the community meeting and an RSVP link so that we could try to gauge the attendance size that would be joining us. Next slide, please. So the results of the survey is what I'll take you through first, and then the results of the community meeting I'll take you through next. 75 responses to the survey were received. The results from those responses were overwhelmingly positive. They are as follows. When asked to rate the project from 1 being very negative to 5 being very positive, the responses received a weighted average of 4.55 towards the positive, with 64 or 88% noting that they thought positively of the project, rated 4 and 5. When given a list of potential concerns, they may select from selecting all that may apply, as well as having an other as an option. 36 or 48% noted no concerns, 28 or 37% noted safety and security near and around the facilities as concerns, and 20 or 27% noted proximity to school or residences. When given a list of potential benefits, they may select from selecting all that may apply, as well as having other so that they can add additional comments. 65 or 87% noted better community access to the behavioral health crisis services. 62 or 83% noted fewer Adventist Health emergency room visits for mental health crises. 54 or 72% noted reduced calls to the local 911 and reduced strain on law enforcement. 49 or 65% noted improved community safety, and 42 or 56% noted local job creation. I will say between these two questions on asking about concerns and offering a list of potential concerns and offering a list of benefits and noting those potential benefits, there was a response to all benefits that were listed, but there were only a response to 3 of the noted concerns that I mentioned before. When asked what additional information they'd like to see regarding, my apologies, one of the 3 of the noted concerns was no concerns. When asked about additional information the community would like to see regarding this project, 45 or 60% noted services to be provided, 44 or 59% noted security measures, and 37 to 49% noted how to access. Within that, I think I'll be speaking on it later, but because of the concerns, additional information, as well as some of the questions that were also asked in some of the free text in the survey, we were able to develop an FAQs / fact sheet for the BCHIP in English and Spanish, and we're able to disseminate that at the community meeting. And that also is available with us so that we can disseminate, and we can also then post that or even work with county administration if they'd like to send that up through the community or the county social media channels as kind of like a follow-up to the postcard that was sent out through those social media channels. Next slide, please.
Prior to the community meeting, the department was able to connect with the superintendent of the Hanford High Joint Union High School District and the principal of Hanford West High to discuss the project. During the discussion, both conveyed the need for these facilities in our community, but wanted to see some features to accommodate the high school students who walk past that area and the bus stop near the site. Those design features included a fence to create a sight line and discourage foot traffic along the campus, as well as public access potentially to come from Bailey Drive rather than Campus Drive. We agreed regarding the fencing as this was already planned in the project. And when discussing the move for the public entrance to move over to the Bailey Drive area, rather than Campus Drive, we informed them that this would be taken under consideration because the county does own the property with which Kingsview uses on the other side of Building 3, Building 3, where we conduct our adult outpatient services. After giving this some thought, it occurred to us that this was actually a very good design because it would create privacy for people who are coming to visit folks who are in any one of the 3 facilities. It would create a private entrance to the CRT for those in crisis. And then the back of the building would accommodate the parking lot for all the employees who work there, the crisis services, so the mobile crisis and any ambulances that might be coming. So this idea was determined to be a very good one, and we've incorporated into our plans. The community meeting was then held on October 29th from 5:30 to 7. 45 individuals attended the community meeting, including individuals from the community, Kings County Grand Jury, Hanford West High School, the Kings County Behavioral Health Family Support Group. And during the meeting, the department provided an overview of the state RFA and the project proposed and requested feedback and input from the attendees. Much of the feedback was exceptionally positive, with some concerns expressed over ensuring sufficient security around the campus. During the feedback from the survey, the department created the FAQ that Christy just mentioned. Okay, Christy, and next slide, please.
Okay, so I will talk to you about the stakeholder engagement. So we have been engaging with the stakeholders. So as you might recall, we formed a stakeholder group back in, I believe, 2022 when we received the CCMU grant and the CHAFA grant for mobile crisis services. So CCMU was the planning grant for mobilizing crisis, and the CHAFA grant was for implementing our first mobile crisis team, which did implement December 20th, I believe, or maybe December 1st of 2023, that mobilizes to children and youth in crisis in school setting at CWS and at the Children's Mental Health Plan clinics. And so we were able to then reconvene those individuals into what we are now terming the Kings County Crisis Collaborative. And those are stakeholders that really work in the community most closely with individuals in crisis. This includes law enforcement, Adventist Health, our mental health and substance use disorder providers, a whole laundry list of individuals, and we discussed who those were in our previous study session. So many in the stakeholder group were involved, as I mentioned, with the initial mobile crisis planning. And at that time, we also informed them that we would be bringing them back as we launch the mobile crisis. And this will be launched starting December 31st, 2024. And so while they are giving us input in this B-CHIP application, we've also asked that we keep them convened throughout 2025 on a quarterly basis so that they can also review the performance and the progress, not only with B-CHIP, but also with the Children's Mobile Crisis Team and the countywide mobile crisis implementation, because this impacts all of them. And so we want to make sure that we're all discussing how it's going, and it's not necessarily kind of like a phone tree on how it's going, that we're all at the table, we're all hashing out the problems and celebrating the successes together. So those stakeholders are now being engaged in further development of the crisis continuum. The meetings were held October 11th and November 13th, and the department went over the state RFA, the proposed project, and the request for the letters of support. This meeting also garnered overwhelming support, and thus far the department has received letters of support from the list that Dr. Lewis will take you through here in a moment. I will say that not only was it an overwhelming amount of support, but also Adventist Health, who was there, asked us like, how soon can this occur? So that they can really ensure that those who are seeking emergency services are best able to seek medical emergency services through Adventist Health and psychiatric emergency services through a more appropriate setting like the CSU. We told them that we think it'll be near the end of 2026, potentially into 2027. And so
Next slide, please. So letters of support are an extremely important part of this application. So we've received letters of support from Adventist Health, Hanford Police Department, Kings County Office of Education, Health Human Services Agency, Probation, Aspiranet, Tulare County Health and Human Services Agency, Behavioral Health Department. And we have received feedback from the following entities that they're working on letters of support: the Public Guardian's Office, the Veteran Services Office, Kings County Behavioral Health Family Support Group, and Fresno County Behavioral Health. We are also notified by Victor at Senator Hurtado's office that they are sending us a letter of support right now. Next slide, please.
Christine? So now we'll take you through the application progress. So this is just the refresher of the application, and then we'll go through kind of the site plan elements as well as the budget and then the timeline. So as a refresher for the application, the funding was released through a state request for application or RFA. Eligible applicants who could apply for this state RFA includes counties, cities, tribal entities, and both nonprofit and for-profit organizations. All applicants must notify the County Behavioral Health Department to obtain a letter of support from the Behavioral Health Director, and awarded applicants that offer Medi-Cal behavioral health services as a result of these projects will be expected to have a contract in place with their county to ensure the provision of Medi-Cal services once the funded facility's expansion or construction is completed. Good Samaritan was the only entity that reached out to Kings County Behavioral Health for this state RFA round. Additionally, DHCS prioritizes applications that involve later phases of development, collaborative partnerships such as public-private projects, and projects that use a campus model to provide multiple levels of care. Our proposed project meets these criteria as it involves renovating county-owned property, which helps us move through stage 1 into stage 2 more swiftly as a later stage of development project. And this is a public-private collaborative partnership between the county and Good Samaritan Health Systems, as well as uses a campus model to co-locate 3 multiple levels of care. Next slide, please. The stages, so this is project readiness. And so it's a bit detailed on here, and I apologize. I know it violates the 777 rule, but I really wanted to show how the state determines what's considered a later stage of development project, and also to show that they are open to receiving projects that are in the planning pre-development stage all the way through projects that are ready for construction. And so we do fall in the planning and pre-development right now, although we have completed some things that are in the phase 2 design development. We believe that we will actually complete the phase 1 planning pre-development before application, because the only thing that we see that's left is in yellow, which is the basic schematic design site plan with the basis of design includes architectural and engineering narratives. We are working diligently with Good Samaritan Health Systems on being able to obtain that. The reason it has gone this long is because there has been many site plan, iterations of site plans as we continue to work through like what's going to be renovated. Will we use modulars? Will we not use modulars? What was the extensive damage within the building 3 with that was the fire. So will it need to be reconstructed? There was also a pipe burst in building 2. Is there enough just recently? So now assessing, is there so much damage that may need to be reconstructed? Can it be renovated? As well as in meeting with then the community and the stakeholders, and especially with the high school where they want the entrance now flipped. So there's been a lot of iterations, and we've kind of allowed for, really setting back and allowing for that design to take place, knowing that while we would love to have a later stage of development as late as we can get it, we also know that we can still apply with a planning and pre-development because we have other criteria that causes us to garner a higher score, the public-private relationship and the multi-level of care campus. And in all of the individuals that we've talked with at the governor's office, we had a call with them to talk about it. They reached out to us, as well as with the pre-application consultation with the funder, that they feel that ours is quite competitive. In fact, they're seeing that a lot of applications are quite focused on the design and building of it and have not necessarily focused as well as we have on ensuring that it matches the national best practice that was released by SAMHSA, the crisis care model, which is also the national best practice, as well as all of the community and stakeholder development that we've been doing. So they say you have strong elements as it relates to this, so that it can compensate for the fact that you may be in a phase one. The next thing on phase two, I put in green what we feel we've been able to accomplish or achieve or can accomplish and achieve, because you can see on phase two, it says that we must be able to gain building permits within 6 months of funding. We estimate that funding is received or can be released by the time we get the fully executed contract, which is anticipated for August 2025. And therefore, we would put our permits that we have to obtain by February 2026, as well as able to start construction within 9 months. So that would then put us at May 2026. And so we feel that we're able to achieve those dates. So really the only thing that will be left to achieve in phase two will be then the site plan established with the schematic plan with architectural and engineering specifications, including the design drawings. That's where we will be. That is our hope, that we can then submit the application saying that we are stage two, with only one part of stage two left to be developed, and then rolling us over to stage three once developed. Next slide, please.
Okay, so now we're getting into the more moving parts. The conceptualization of this is changing as we work through it. As you look at this, you'll see building 1 and 2, and you can also see the fence line that's proposed to go around the property, which is in red. Then building 3 and building 4 is actually the modular building that is from potentially needs to be moved. So in the beginning, the goal was to have a place for the CSU, the PUF, and the CRT. However, it was unknown how we should do this, is if we should renovate or construct new buildings, if we should use modulars. To date, the proposed idea is to renovate buildings 1 and 2, which are closest to Lacey Boulevard, create privacy, and use the structure, and that's if they turn out to be appropriate for this remodel. Building 1 would be the CSU and building 2 would be administrative offices. It is proposed to demo building 3 and construct a CRT and PUF in its place, working to marry the aesthetics of the surrounding buildings. As mentioned in the last study session, modulars are being considered. These are very advanced level modulars, things that are being used for hotels, for government offices. They're really beautiful structures. As mentioned in the last study, modulars are being considered, and they're hard to distinguish from regular buildings once they're done. This speeds up the timeline because the modulars can be built at the same time that the site is being prepared for the modulars, and this can be done while the demo is happening on building 3. It's been mentioned that there are many interested in the county of moving building 4, which is the emergency operating center. And so we've included funds to move that facility into our budget. And as mentioned earlier, there'll be fencing around the area. This includes buildings 1, 2, and 3 to separate the line of sight and foot traffic. So if you look at that, the parking lot right now for the public health building would become the back parking lot. It would be for employees, ambulances, and mobile crisis, whereas the front of the building would face the parking lot, which is connected to Kingsview. And that would be an addition of about 22 roughly parking spaces that would be added to that area. So people would have a private entrance into the CRT and the PUF, and an additional private entrance over to the crisis stabilization unit for dropping people off or visiting. And I'll just note that in these type of facilities, there's typically very few visitors. It's a very small number of people that arrive
for visitation or to bring somebody in. So if you look at, for instance, the psychiatric facility over at Cuya Delta, typically the parking lot is empty. It's very rare that there's a lot of people in the parking lot. Let's see. Also, it's been advised to consider looking at solar and battery storage and a generator, which would help with the fiscal sustainability of the buildings. Adding all of this and changing the access to Bailey Drive, there may be a need for a traffic worm or a light on Lacey and Cousins Drive. So these are new things that we've come across as we've been engaging with Public Works and with our different partners as we've been asking all the different ramifications of what we are proposing. Chrissy?
Next slide, please. Okay, so now we'll go over the budget. Of course, with a lot of the elements that were described that have been evolving over time and I feel can continue to evolve, you can expect the budget has evolved quite substantially as well, which is possible through the funds available with the state RFA. So when we were talking with the grantor during the pre-application consultation, he really was encouraging us to, this is not meant to be a grant where you're trying to be competitive in coming in with like a lowest bid. You're not competing in that way. You're really competing. They're looking at competing. Is this sustainable? Do you have multiple partnerships? Do you have a lot of support by your community and local stakeholders? And do you already control the property? So they're really looking at those types of elements instead of necessarily competing with the funding. And so they did encourage us to look at the funding and making sure that we can also plan for the fact that we're applying now, but construction won't happen until 2026. And so making sure that we have the kind of the escalators built in for those inflations that may occur. The funds that are through the state RFA is $155 million available to the San Joaquin Valley counties. In total, the entire application is $1.8 billion, but this is what's available for the San Joaquin Valleys to compete with through their competitive applications. And then the state also has $342 million available as discretionary funding, which they can use to further support if there's a lot of applications coming in for one region that they feel is viable and they want to extend additional funding to that region, or also to use for high scoring applications that may require additional funding. So we're not as concerned with necessarily blowing through what might be an allocation amount for Kings County. Initially, it was first suspected costs may be estimated around 12 million. However, with the additional site plan elements, further discussions locally and the pre-application consultation with the state's third-party grant administrator, AHP, encouraging us, like I mentioned, to really think about those kind of escalating costs that could be coming. The budget is closer to 22 million, which will also go through some additional changes. It looks like it may be closer to 32 million, even though that might also increase. So I'll take you through what some of those increases may look like. So when we were having local discussions and looking at some of the projects that were done in the county previously, it came in more at about 500 a square foot instead of the 375 for new construction that you see here. Although when you it was 500 a square foot in totality with prevailing wage and all of that good stuff. Here, when you take into consideration the cost per square foot at 375, the addition of estimated prevailing wage and the addition of the 25% contingency that is required of this application, you do get to like $506 per square feet. However, this is our only time to work with the budget and get it right. And so we have the ability then to move it to 500 a square foot before prevailing wage, before the contingency and before the soft costs. And therefore, we are going to move it up to 500 square foot, both the renovation and the construction. In doing that, that alone will bring us to 32 million for the budget. In addition, what we've been hearing from others is that the 4 million that we have anticipated for external costs related to solar, parking lot, generator, battery backup, one or the other, traffic light or worm, and the fencing as well as landscaping, that the 4 million is also underestimated. And I think we heard one estimate alone that perhaps a generator might be 3 million just in and of itself, and a traffic light might be 1 million in and of itself. And so we are going to be looking at increasing that as well. In doing all of this, we still have to remember that 10% is still required of a match. And we really, in moving it up, the equity value of the current property no longer will satisfy the full 10%. And so the county is able to utilize opioid, or it's looking into utilizing opioid settlement funds. And we're able to do that, and clarifying that with the state currently, that we're able to do that because of the expansion of SB 43, which expanded LPS to be able to encompass those with standalone severe substance use disorder services, of which those individuals will then be using these crisis supports, and therefore they could be construed as SUD facilities. And so we are getting clarification on that, as that is our first choice for use of additional match, but we do have second choices as well. So we are able to increase the budget and still cover the match.
And before we go on to the next slide, I'd just like to say, in our world, we like to break down our services into what is it costing us per person, you know. And so we did a little math the other day to figure out, at the 22 million point, these services would be provided over 30 years. So what would it cost us for each individual person per use? And we broke it down, and it came down to $24 per person per use. So everybody who goes into that building for services, whether it's, you know, the psychiatric facility for 2 weeks or evaluation for crisis services, community, state, taxpayer funds would have contributed $24 to the establishment of that facility for that visit. If we increase it to over 30 million, it'll come into about $36 per person per visit, which I think is quite an amazing bargain when you look at it over time. And one of the reasons why we want to build it at such a way that it will last for 30 years. Okay, the next slide. The next steps and timeline for the application and project are listed here. We plan to come back to your board on December 10th for action, for a request for action, which is what the state requires, which is a resolution. So we want to submit the competitive application by the due date, which is December 13th. We hope to receive a conditional award by May 2025. And let me just add that during that time, between January and May, a lot of work can go on into answering some of these additional questions that we have about how we want to allocate this budget as we learn more about the buildings and the site. We just need to make sure that our budget is large enough so that we can move within it later to make decisions about how to best allocate it. If awarded, the applicants must be able to fully execute the state's agreement within 90 days from the conditional award notification and cannot make any red lines to the agreement. The department will be back to the board shortly after executing the state agreement, which I believe we in the resolution proposed would provide for the chairman of the board to actually sign the acceptance of the award. We would be back to the board to execute an agreement with Good Samaritan Hospital. Awardees must obtain permits by 6 months after funding, and we anticipate funding upon execution of the state's agreement in August 2025. Therefore, 6 months is February 2026. Awardees must start construction within 9 months after obtaining funding, which would be May 2026. And we anticipate the project will be operational in 2027. Ideally, it would be sooner, but we would like to shoot for 2027. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We're here to answer any questions you might have about the beach fund.
Okay, thank you. I got a couple questions. So we just got done. Well, we're not done. We're still having a hard time with, you know, meeting the state's guidelines and applying for these funds for our Triangle Gardens project, which, you know, came from your office with your predecessor, and then in the behavioral health, which makes Wendy work overtime. And she's not a construction manager, but she's doing a good job doing that. Here we are now doing the same thing, working against a timeline created by the governor's office for possibly a $32 million project. I would like to have the Public Works and the Community Development Directors chime in on this and give their opinion. I don't know, you didn't mention anything about who's going to construct this and who's doing the work, and if someone will be available. And do we, I mean, we don't have to go out for bid apparently, because we don't have to have the lowest bid on it. So I understand that. But, you know, I was all for this project. I'm getting nervous now. It's a lot of money. So I don't want to get caught with our pants down like we did with the other two projects that are not complete that we started 4 years ago. So if Dominic and Chuck can come in and add a little bit to it, give me some security, I'd appreciate that.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dominic Tyberski, Public Works. So we have been in a number of meetings with Dr. Lewis and Christie. And so I just want to start out by saying, from my perspective, I believe this is a good project. It's certainly a need in the community. And I think the project on itself has many merits. My concern is that we are rushing it through with this first cycle. And we don't have a good, understanding of what this project is actually going to cost. There isn't an actual engineer's estimate prepared by a licensed civil engineer or an architect who looked at the impact in its totality. We also need to engage the city. If we're going to turn the building around, there's a good chance they're going to require us to signalize the intersection there at Mather and Lacey Boulevard. That's very expensive to do. That's just one challenge, one possibility. My concern is that we are going to secure $20 million in funding and put the county on the hook for a $30 million project because we just don't know. There are too many unknowns. My recommendation would be to wait for the next cycle. I think Chuck has more information on the administrative issues that we're facing to even try to get this through to their deadline of December 13th.
No,
So
thank you. And waiting for a second round administrative cycle, if we'd have done that with the project with Triangle Gardens, we could have got bonded out. We wouldn't have a problem today. And we hurried up from the administrator or director that is not here today that put us in a bad position that we're on the hook for. And I'm concerned about that. I don't want to do the same thing twice because we said, let's get bonded. And we were told, we don't have time. You're going to miss on all this money. You got to get going. And I don't want to fall into that category again. And with our governor coming down here thinking that we're lucky to be here because he's in charge, I'm a little skeptical on what he's trying to make us do. So thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Chuck Kinney, Community Development Agency Director. I too think that this is a great project for our community. We desperately need this in our county, but do believe that we are rushing things a little to meet this December deadline for submittal. We have yet to get an actual site plan that's able to be submitted to start working from for a zoning permit to allow for all the agencies to have feedback and comments. So we're not sure what is going to come to us and what the requirements are going to be as of yet, which makes it extremely difficult for planning for finances. We have yet to begin the procurement process to be able to get an architect or an engineer on board to be able to start drawing those things for the county. And so there are a lot of challenges that could be revealed through the process. My understanding is that there's potential for another grant application in February of this coming year. And that extra 3 months could provide sufficient time to be able to get through some of these initial steps, get someone on board to get a site plan drawn, get through the zoning permit process and start some actual factual numbers for cost estimates. My understanding is once we apply, whatever we've put in the application is going to be required of us to provide as services, but we're locked into the dollar amount that is requested, and we're not able to go back for a second round to be able to get additional funds if needed. Those additional funds would have to come from local sources if that were the case.
Thank you. The same concerns I had too. So any questions from the board? No, you good?
Can I just
So
speak to
my
that?
question would be, so we get to December, what's the date we're going to go next? December 10th, come back to the board, December 11th. If we're not comfortable, can we push it back till February, or you think you can get some answers for us by then?
We're going to get as many answers as we can for you, but I can tell you that the state does not expect us to have all of this done. We can apply simply with the concept, which is step one. And then we have all that time regardless of, if we apply or we don't apply. So the best thing to do would be to apply and then to answer these questions. There's also going to be another round, but there's no guarantee that it's going to be for this level of services. This is really, as we understand it, a very big round. Most counties are applying for multiple projects right now, and many of them are applying in the exact same way that we are with public-private partnership, which are in the exact same conceptual process that we are, and for instance are applying with organizations like Good Samaritan that brings a development team with them. So I understand Chuck has concerns about that, and so that's one of the things we've been trying to resolve, and we're looking into past BCHIP projects that have been granted and have been worked on so that we can present them to you to show you how they were conceptualized, how they were funded, so that there'll be a little bit more comfort with it by December. But even if we were to apply by May, if we are not comfortable, the board does not have to accept the award.
Yeah, you'd have a better chance with me if we'd had them other two projects done. I don't see my way out yet. So I believe in this project. I've been with you every step of the way. The number is getting kind of big, and so I want to make sure we don't make a mistake. So
If I may add as well, to talk about what you had mentioned about now until May, we hope to continue working through all of the concerns, and we appreciate all of the honesty that you guys have had in all the meetings that we've been trying to work through those, because we also don't want to miss anything. If we feel that during the work between now and May that this budget actually isn't going to work, there's no local funds that will be able to bridge that gap, we can immediately take this application, repurpose it, and submit it. It's actually May is when the round 2 is going to come out, although we don't know what facilities they're specifically going to allow for us to apply for, and if they'll have any other conditions, because it's called unmet needs. And so I don't know if the state will then define unmet needs as just children and youth or whatever. But in that instance, we may then be able to just repurpose the same application with a new budget and submit it in May and turn down the conditional offer during this round. So we have outs on this. And though, if we do apply and we find that through the work, this is a viable application for us to accept the funds on, we are hoping to be able to apply through, if allowed, through the RFA for children's services in round 2. And so we're hoping to kind of focus our efforts in children's services and some residential support also for individuals in our community. So we're a little concerned about bringing so many projects possibly to round 2, and then the state having to itemize out which ones they feel are priority.
We can start it and modify it up till May, correct? Okay. And
Yeah.
you feel comfortable with that?
Yes.
Comfortable with that?
Yeah, we could definitely apply and then decide not to accept the award if we get the award, and resubmit if we find that what we would be accepting is not viable for our project.
That's a good question.
Yeah, mine just goes back to security. I know I asked you before, and I know you've addressed some of it. I appreciate the community outreach. It sounds like it was mainly positive, but there was still some concerns about the security. You changed where the entryway is going to be. That's helpful. Are you also looking at other things, additional staffing, training, or whatever in regards to the security, or a security guard, we'll say, on site or something of that nature after the community outreach?
Yeah, so we did make sure that we informed the high school that not only would it be fencing, and of course, then if we're able to move the site over to Bailey, that is under consideration, that would be done as well. But in addition, we have no problem having security, at least during the first year, to see, like, is the security worthwhile? Because, there's just the thoughts. You don't know. If you don't know, it can tend to make you think that we may need these things. So we're willing to invest in that first year of security in case there is a need to have, and as well, of course, security surveillance equipment, because that's always good in a parking lot.
Can I add to that, Supervisor Robin? The people who are the most skilled at working with people in psychiatric crises are in that building. So that is staffed with some of the best people you will have in the county, psychiatrists, staff in the building that are the best and the most skilled. So it's probably gonna be one of the most secure places you'll ever be. So I feel that in addition to the fencing and any additional outside security, we have staff that are going to be the ones that we would call if we have an issue.
And then you're looking to move the OES building, correct?
That's in the budget.
Yeah, if that's the desire.
That was up to the county. If you wanted to.
I think I've talked to the sheriff about this. We don't have a current fire chief, but, I would like to see continue the buildup of our, we got the courthouse, we got the jail, we got the sheriff's headquarters, we got day reporting. We can have a nice fire unit right there too for administration. I think that will look nice in the future. And if we can consider that when moving the building, I don't think that building will look nice there, but consider that. I don't know, Matt's listening, but once we get a fire chief, maybe we can look towards finalizing something like that in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and
Yes,
if I
sir.
may,
Sure,
Mr.
Paul.
Chairman and board members, so a couple little things. We're talking about our legislative platform and things that we're going to go after this year. And Matt and I are working with our lobbyists to go after funding for a new fire headquarters. And so I think this falls right in line. I love the project. I think it's a great idea. Your concerns are duly noted. Supervisor Robinson, I'll just mention that we have a traffic issue on Campus Drive. Part of that issue is created by the high school's refusal to open up their back parking lot. And so while I'm sympathetic to the high school and some of their concerns, they could also alleviate some of their concerns by actually opening up their back parking lot at Hanford West, which they refuse to do. And so I totally get where you're coming from, but I'm not overly sympathetic to their concerns when they're not sympathetic to ours.
And on what basis are they refusing?
That's a great question. I've asked multiple times. They allow the high school principal to make that decision. They say it's a security issue, but they also have internal fencing within the school boundaries that they could isolate that parking lot. And so I scratch my head. And so they've been helpful when we got some of the parking done along Campus Drive with the city of Hanford, but they've also not been overly helpful when it comes to utilizing their entire campus to move traffic off of Campus Drive. Just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. I represented the county for about 2 years while we were working on that traffic issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Mr. Kinney.
Yes, since that was brought up about the fire department also looking to redo their facilities. Although we're not able to get through a zoning permit before the deadline for this grant to submit, I'd highly encourage that maybe we also consider that site, not just for this one facility, but for the future of the county's fire department as well. It's possible at this point to draw a site plan that could adequately house both facilities, possibly more, to better utilize that land as well. We just haven't started down that process to even analyze what's possible with that property at this point.
Okay, thank you. I know we have our place health center right there too as well, so that'd be a concern as well. Backed up to building number 4, so the fence would be wise to continue it around to that area so we can.
There would be fencing right there and it would connect to the building so that the building would be secure. And we've walked it a lot of times, making sure that that would work. One of the things that I would like to offer too is, as Chuck has brought up, some of the work that needs to be done in preparation of fully understanding the site. Some of this, I believe our department could fund as we start down the next months in the new year so that we can have better understanding of the site. If that turns out to be the right thing to do, we need to kind of look at the whole application and make sure we're not jumping ahead, something that the grant would actually fund. We don't want to expend funds that we could be paying for with state funds.
Yeah, and this is the time we ask questions because we don't want to get caught, down the road. Say, why do we ask that question? So that's what we're doing. Kyria?
Mr. Chairman, if you can also provide, this is a study session only, but you could also provide direction to staff if you want to leave the parking lot or the structure facing the way it is or make modifications. Again, that significantly impacts the budget. So, if should you choose to remain the same, then the budget would be reduced.
When it started at 18 million, now we're 32.
So again, that is actually one of the contributing factors to the increase in the budget. So should your board just want to leave the facility, that way you can give staff direction to just leave as is.
Today?
that was actually, it's not changing that budget that significantly. A lot of it has just been create more understanding of what was needed as we go forward. Things like generators and the cost of the parking lot, potential solar. If we run into problems in building 1 and 2 that are really extensive, we have to determine when that is evaluated, if we should remodel it or if we should change course and put a new building there, one of the modulars. So those are decisions that can be made between now and May. We can understand a lot of things by then.
Yeah, and I will mention that, yeah, in moving the entry over to Bailey, it could have additional costs that we are booking with like the traffic worm, I think, or the traffic light was like $1 million to start with that we were at least, yeah. And also additional, I didn't even know there was things called a traffic worm, but, and then also expanding the parking lot so that we're marrying the Kingsview parking lot with it. And so these were first things that we were like, gosh, now it's just more complexities and then additional, work with the city on just that. However, it also brought up a really good opportunity that we didn't think of, which is those adults who are using these facilities are going to be supported most likely through Kingsview. And so we are actually taking that campus and moving it into almost like an L campus. And so it's, the more that you're seeing it, the more it's right there, you're more likely you are to access it. So it feels like that posed an opportunity that we didn't even consider, that this then creates just more awareness and likely more accessibility between that, between Kingsview and these facilities, making this a much larger multi-level of care campus, which we are embedding throughout our application in the narratives about how this is adding then to. So you'll have from the wellness center that's there to the adult outpatient center to then all of the crisis levels of care, all in this one access. Although, like I mentioned, the employees and the emergency vehicles will come through the back access. So it's just this balancing of, it creates a better level of care campus, but it does increase costs.
Yeah.
Okay. Dominic?
So one thing I just wanted to mention, so to get us to the point where we have a workable site plan, I guess the two options are go out to RFP, the county hire a consultant. By the time we do that, we burn through the time. We have no time. Dr. Baga's team does have an architect on, I don't know if on staff or they've hired, they've retained. The recommendation would be to utilize that architect to the extent possible. Might preclude the ability to include fire. I don't know. That's a discussion we'd have to have, but
I think that's a good idea. The guy that's going to run the facility should be part of the design too.
Sure.
So,
and that's really the biggest challenge, getting a defined, professional, buildable site plan and a good cost estimate associated with that.
okay, very good. So appreciate it. Okay, any further questions?
I have a couple. Oh, we appreciate that statement very much. And also, I'm just wanted to clarify what I said to Kiri about the change in the cost. I really meant the design, but I realized that the traffic light is a huge expense, but that also benefits the community in general.
Well, we could just have roundabout. We'll have this room full of people with.
We could do that too.
So,
Is that a worm? I don't know what a worm is.
Presentation. Look forward to this talk before the next board meeting. Maybe put together a little group and some of us can get together, 2 board members, and we can talk about what we're hearing in the community. I'm sure this will spark up a conversation on social media, so we can discuss it before the next board meeting. And thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're going to go ahead now. We're going to go to board member announcements and reports. Supervisor Jeffs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Report period goes back 3 weeks. So the Housing Authority met on November 6th, continues to operate, conducted a Hanford windshield tour on the 7th, and I'm still trying to figure out how to make a presentation out of that. Attended the King's EDC annual meeting on the 7th, a very nice dinner, very nice event at the Hanford Civic. The Veterans Day celebration in Lemoore was a 3K walk. Kathy and I did it in 36 minutes. There were some people that were running through it. But was a nice event in Lemoore for the Veterans Day celebration. And then on the Veterans Day on the 11th, the Hanford Cemetery by the tank, American Legion Post 3, Be the One mission is the interaction with veterans in crisis. Veterans Day also had a celebration at the Hanford Civic that with the ice rink kind of took up some space, but there was still a lot of room there. It was a very nice day and a nice event. We announced the Lemoore Veterans Day Parade. If you can remember back, that was a very blustery day. So we had a couple of cancellations of bands, but it was a nice 30-minute parade with 27 entries and got through it pretty well without any problems. The Kings County Behavioral Health Advisory Board meeting was held on the 12th, bringing forward the bylaws update. And so this board will be seeing that hopefully in the near future. City County Coordinating meeting was hosted by Lemoore, and we certainly want to thank Lemoore for that. Nice dinner, nice facility, and the new restaurant in Lemoore. The People's Funeral Chapel here in Hanford celebrated a century of dignity on November 14th. It was a very nice event with a lot of history and a lot of knowledge about the People's Funeral Chapel. And it was a nice event. We're pretty well attended and certainly want to thank them for that. The Kings County Homeless Collaborative meeting was held on the 18th. The Kings County No Camping Ordinance was discussed, homeless coordinator position, as well as updates on the housing projects. The December meeting was canceled, and the next meeting will be January 21st of 25. Kings Federal Credit Union also had a supervisors meeting on the 19th, and everything continues to move forward across the street. Calviva Finance had a meeting. The commission was canceled due to unable to meet quorum. Everything's moving forward. We do have some concerns. The governor's changing some of the funding schedules in 25. So we continue to work through those budgeted changes. Wrapped up the 2024 volleyball season at Lemoore College, tipped off the men's and women's basketball, and also started the Santa visits. The Kalinga Falcons will be playing in the Grizzly Bowl on Friday, December 6th in 2024, taking on the College of the Redwoods. So we want to wish them well. And then on Saturday, attended the Lemoore Lions Club's 75th anniversary at the Lemoore Civic, 5 years of service of the Lemoore Lions Club. And it was a nice dinner, nice event, and certainly appreciate them. So with that, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Much for goodness.
Well, I'd just like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and be safe, because I think we're going to have some fog coming in here, and it's not going to be safe on these roads. But in fact, it's not safe without fog sometimes.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wish everybody that can possibly enjoy their families and everything.
What time you want me over?
Right after I get done eating.
I'll meet you at Taco Bell.
No, I just like family get together.
Not family?
Not yet. You could be. But on second thought. I don't think Portuguese and dust are going to mix at the same table.
Not a good mixture.
I like linguiça. What do you?
Oh, I do linguiça.
No, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Supervisor Robinson.
Let's see, on Tuesday, November 5th, with supervisors, we had the Mid-Kings River special meeting for the GSA. Also attended Mr. Valadeo's watch party. Congratulations to him. On Wednesday, November 6th, we have this Housing Authority meeting with supervisors. On Thursday, I too attended the Kings Employment Development Corporation. The supervisors Verboten Neves and Julieta and Fabio. Nice dinner. Thank you for the presentation. Friday, November 8th, Veterans Day presentation at Hanford Christian School. Discussions with the library director, Mitchell Cabrera and Chuck Kinney. Wednesday, November 3rd, San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District study session in Visalia. And that night we had the city-county coordinating meeting. And the following day on Thursday in the morning, I served on an accreditation board for Hanford Christian School and then did the air board study session later in the afternoon and the Farm Bureau dinner that night. Monday, November 18th, Zoom meeting with Tulare County Supervisors Larry McCarty and the KT AAA Director Dana Wild with the California Department of Aging on program status. And then all this week, I've been at CSAC in Pasadena with Supervisor Verboon and Supervisor Valley. And one part of the presentation, there's a thing called a Waymo, which is an autonomous vehicle that they represented. And so at the end of the conference, my family came up and we took a ride in the autonomous vehicle, and I'm still here standing. I was pleasantly surprised. Not only is the ride really smooth, the reactions of the people on the street are priceless. And it's the way of the future. At this point, I think they're only in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Phoenix, and maybe a couple other places. But stay tuned because I'm sure that'll change. In addition to all of the robo delivery services all over the city of Los Angeles. So anyway, it was a great week, and CSAC installed its new officers. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, thank you. I'll be real brief due to time. To add to that, we were invited, or a lot of board members were invited to go see NASA at the JPL laboratories in Pasadena. 20 people were chosen. I was able to get in, and I got Kerry Martinez, our CEO, to join us as well. Basically, it's the center of the universe for the world. It's been there since 1961. They monitor Voyager 1, Voyager 2, which took off to orbit in 1977. They monitor that today. There's a signal, I think 147 million light years away or something way away. And it sends a signal about the amount of juice in your garage door opener, and able to retrieve that signal and use it. Started in mission control, went to the next unit, which talked about the Voyager 1 and 2, and then the developing of the rockets back in the 60s. And then we went into where they manufacture the satellites, and nothing was being made at the time. Then we went into a room and saw like a slideshow. It had a video or picture of all the counties and the seals. They talked about the most monitored planet in the universe, which is Earth, and what they use to monitor our water. And so it was focused on Kings County. They showed slides from our flood and how they monitor our water use. And I had lots of questions that lasted about a half hour longer than it should have because of my questions, and they could not answer my questions. So we are going to try to go back with our GSAs and kind of get a handle on how we can access their tools to utilize it to help prevent our water from leaving our area. So I was very fortunate to go to that tour. I've always wondered what they did. I thought I'd get to see rockets and satellites, but it was actually on what they monitor here in our hometown. So very informative, and appreciate the tour. So we'll move on now to board correspondence.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a little bit of a lengthy report. So the board received correspondence from California State Land Commission dated November 7th regarding the resolution of legislative jurisdiction of recording. The board received correspondence from Board of State Community Corrections dated October 29th regarding the 2324 Comprehensive Inspection Penal Code Section Institute Code Section of the Corcoran Police Department Temporary Holding Facility. Board received a signed resolution for conditional use permit. The board received correspondence from the Board of State Community Corrections dated October 14th regarding the inspection of the Corcoran Police Department. The board received a response from CLOSIA dated November 7th regarding the CLOSIA's response to the county's LBO flyer. The board received correspondence from Pacific Gas and Electric Company dated November 7th regarding the request to increase rates for its billing initiative application. The board received correspondence from Self-Help Enterprise dated November 25th regarding a nonprofit housing and community development organization. And lastly, the board received today a notice of resignation from Dominic Tyberski, Public Works Director, as he is leaving to County of Madera. For upcoming events, Kings County Library will host a sit and stitch group tomorrow, November 27th, from 2 to 5:30 at the Hanford Branch Library. The group meets last Wednesday of every month. Kings County Library will host its family craft time on November 28th from 3:30 to 4:30 at the Corcoran Branch Library. City of Hanford will host its annual Christmas parade on November 29th at 6 p.m. downtown Hanford. City of Lemoore will host its Jingle and Mingle tree lightning on December 1st from 12 to 8 p.m. downtown Lemoore. And Kings County Library will host its Maker Monday at the Hanford Branch Library, Monday, December 2nd, from 3:30 to 4:30. And Kings County Library will host its 15th annual Winter House, open to all branches, on December 4th. Kettleman Stratford will host 3 to 5. Hanford, Avenel, Corcoran, Lemoore will host 4 to 6. Enjoy raffles and a visit from Santa Claus. Starting December 4th, Kings County Behavioral Health will be hosting its Survivors Suicide Loss Support Group, specifically for individuals who have experienced the loss of a loved one or someone who's committed suicide. Group will meet here on campus from 5:30 to 7:30. Groups will continue and meet the first Wednesday of every month. Kings County Sheriff's Office will host its Stuff the SWAT Truck toy drive on Saturday, December 7th from 9 to 11 at the Hanford Walmart. Kings County Behavioral Health will host its CARE Act information and listening session on Monday, December 9th at 3 p.m. or Tuesday, December 10th at 10:30 here on campus. Virtual options are available. For more information, we'll have that on our website. For upcoming agenda items, December 3rd, administration has a presentation employee of the quarter. CDA has planning commission report. Election has a certification of the general election and appointments in lieu of election for November 5th. Fire has a resolution regarding the hazard mitigation plan. Human Resources has 4 items: a Probation Officer Association side letter agreement, Deputy Sheriff Association side letter agreement, reclassification retitle positions for unrepresented management, and some job specification District Attorney's Office. IT has an item on purchasing a golf cart. Public Health has a foster care program item. Public Works has a notice of completion for the Kettleman City General Petroleum Avenue improvements and a notice of completion for the Avenel Cutoff Phase 1 project. And that completes my report. Thank you.
We'll go ahead and go to close. Well, we're going to adjourn. We will go to closed session after we do our California Public Finance Authority meeting, and we'll go to closed session and discuss as outlined.
Yes, and I would like to note that there is anticipated reporting out at the end of closed session for the public
We will be
employee
reporting out.
fire chief.
Thank you.